goodness.
What do you think, Levin?
You know what? Yeah, that is quality. That right
Thank you.
there is quality. Who made that?
Made by yours truly, right here.
Talent, pure talent, right there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it was done by Reese, just due to the sheer quality of it. But yeah, no, that's in house right there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the Boomer Talk podcast. My name is Jordan. You might know me as One Up Analytics on Twitter. My co-host is the man himself, Taylor, aka Somebody's Gun. And
Hey.
today we got resub. So Taylor, you want to start us out with a little rundown?
Yeah, thank you guys for joining today. Obviously, this is Leven2k. If you haven't heard of him, you'll definitely know him by the end of the episode. Thank you, Levin, for joining us. So we're going to do things a little differently today, break down some news, and then go into our topics like we normally do and kind of waffle. If you've been on Levin's podcast, it's similar. We do similar things. So first of all, one of the big things that I want to talk about is we're starting to see some of these guys like Nick Merckx, Tfue, Cloak. They're all starting to dabble a little bit. They got the itch for some Fortnite. Nick Merckx even kind of teasing at competitive. Tfue and Cloak have tweeted about possibly getting back to come in for the next FNCS. What are you guys feeling about that? And do you think it's real, or is it just kind of impression farming on Twitter?
I don't think it's impression farming. I mean, I just think they legitimately are nostalgic about the game and like it. Nick, I know, said that he thinks Stark reminds him of Tilted Towers, OG Tilted. So I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know. The game definitely feels like it's in a spot that is a lot better than it was last season. I know personally I'm playing a little bit more recently. Last season I barely played the game. I thought it was disgusting. But yeah.
Look, I'll be real with you. I don't think they want to play Fortnite again. I don't think they really want to play Fortnite again. I think it's a combination of a couple of things, right? A bit of the impressions. If Tfue says he's coming back to Fortnite, everyone's going to go crazy. Obviously, they had Twitch rivals, so, they had to play. They were obviously in a position where, they were just going to be playing Fortnite anyway because of the Twitch rivals invitation, whatever. Cool. I think it's almost like, we all have that, one old fling. And it's like, you think about the good times that you had with her, it was so many good memories, so much fun. And then, you hit her up one night and, you guys spend some time with each other again. And you're like, now I realize why it all went wrong. I know why it all went downhill. I think I didn't actually watch Tfue playing in Twitch Rivals, but I had one of my friends who's like a diehard Tfue fan say Tfue was not having fun playing Fortnite, when he was playing in Twitch Rivals. I think the tournament ended, and as soon as the soonest possible moment for him to get off the game from the tournament being done, he was just straight off. So I think it's one of those things where you probably do get a bit nostalgic about it. How could you not? Fortnite's one of the best games to ever be created. But I think for a lot of these guys, there's no shot at even playing competitively again. So just keep it to nostalgia and stop with the memories and stop it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they want to play again. I don't think they necessarily want to compete because that's a whole different ball game that we're talking about as far as Fortnite goes. And they would, let's be honest, they would all get shit on right now if they tried to come back and play against the top players. Maybe if they gave it a few weeks and, cranked a little bit and worked on it. But as it stands, there's no way you just walk back into this game and are able to play at a high level. At least that's my thought. I don't know if I'm out in right field with that one, but no shot to me if they wanted to come back.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Merckx was getting shit on for a while before he quit the game in the first place. So I don't, he's not coming back and winning tournaments. But no, I mean, I love Nick Merckx, but I mean, I think he would be the first one to say it. The guy is, he's got a lot of weaknesses in the game. But no, but he said, I'm pretty sure he tweeted on Twitter today that he wants to play FNCS going forward. So we'll see how long that lasts. But I don't know.
Look, I'm not scared, bro. If TFU said he's coming back tomorrow, I'll have you, mate. You know, I'll have TFU right now, man. Nobody's intimidated by these guys. Nobody sees these guys as a competitive threat. Like you said, they were getting destroyed long before they actually quit the game. And even people are so quick to forget, especially in our community, right? I saw somebody talking on Twitter about how when TFU was playing in Twitch Rivals, playing Fortnite for the first time in how long, he had the most viewers. Like everybody was watching. Like TFU, if he came back, would be the king of Fortnite on Twitch. People forgetting that before he stopped streaming Fortnite, Clicks and Mongrel and Benji had already overtaken him. They were already getting more viewers than him on Fortnite. Like people are just so quick to forget like what was happening only a couple months ago. So yeah, I'm not too bothered about Nick Merckx and TFU and the likes coming back. I'm not too bothered. I like them though; they are nice guys, but I'm not bothered.
Yeah, big personality, maybe not the best gamers as far as Fortnite goes. You know, they can win their Warzone tournaments. They're chilling. All right, some other quick news before we continue, just to babble, touch on some things. The $1 million LTM tournament, and just to throw this out there because everyone gets so mad, like, oh, why do we got to play a Marvel LTM? Okay. When Marvel throws tons of cash for a sponsorship within the game, there's an agreement with them in Fortnite. FNCS has no physical sponsorship. There's no one paying for that besides Epic Games, right? And Epic benefits from FNCS because of the views, and obviously it's more advertisements, but Marvel is something completely different, and it's been fully integrated into the game. So just, let's stop bitching about the Marvel LTM. It's going to be in the game. It seems like there's going to be more of it. We have double binds being broken, so don't change your binds. If you see a controller player tweet out, scroll wheel reset works out better. If you try it out or reset it, they're lying to you. They're trying to screw with your binds. And then the last one, just another side note, if you guys have anything you want to comment on either of these, Guild Esports, aka David Beckham's org, is joining Fortnite. They signed Flick, or announced the signing of Flick earlier today. So another big name joins in Fortnite. We had Dion Waiters and now David Beckham, both getting involved.
What I will say, shout out to David Beckham, Manchester United legend. If you know me, you know I love Manchester United, and he's a legend. So I love David Beckham. But once again, is it a case of, pro athlete, former athlete, celebrity in general, invests in an esports team and then slaps the players on the shelf and nothing ever comes out of it? It's all good and well. We have these cool announcements, these cool people getting involved in esports, but if after Flick's announcement we don't see like anything significant specifically towards the org, like, does it matter? Like I said on stream today, I said if Flick's announcement, instead of it saying Guild Esports, if it said G2, if it said Fnatic, if it said any other org, would you care any more or less? Most people are gonna say no. Like, you know what I mean? So it's cool, but like, yeah, I'm not too into this whole like excitement behind announcements anymore.
Yeah, one thing about that is like, I don't know much about Guild. Do they have any like Fortnite general manager or anybody running the Fortnite operations? Because
Flick.
Well, okay, but he's like the player.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, because like Levin just said, a lot of times you just get these guys, these pro athletes coming in, throwing money at Fortnite. They sign a player and they're just kind of shelved and nothing really happens. You gotta have somebody who knows the Fortnite community, knows the Fortnite scene, knows what's going on to direct all this stuff. And, rather than just having obviously David Beckham doesn't run the operations for this team. He has, professional business people running the operations, but like, an executive from whatever fucking company he employed to join his esports team doesn't know anything about Fortnite or what's going on in Fortnite. So, there's definitely for me, if you're gonna join the Fortnite scene, if you're gonna join esports, the first acquisition you should be making is like a general manager, someone, the director of operations that knows what's going on within that esport.
Like that's true, but the thing is like, it's. I agree that like it's funny because we were literally talking about this like just a couple hours ago on stream, where it's like, who's making the Fortnite decisions around some of these orgs in the community, like, because somebody has to, but it's not. It's not necessarily easy to find these people. Like there are people who have a decent amount of experience in esports who might be trying to help with things, but even them, having experience in esports doesn't even qualify you to make good Fortnite decisions in terms of what to do with a Fortnite roster, right? Fortnite's a completely different ballgame from other esports. Like, I was literally talking about how I've literally had, like, people who are, like, general managers of other orgs within the scene come to me and ask me for, opinions on certain players or certain things. I'm like, even you, that you're in the role of, like, having to know about what goes on, you don't even have like an amazing idea of what's going on. So it's like, it's a mess all in all. And I really want to know behind more of these orgs, especially with an org like Guild Esports, like who's making the decisions around there when it comes to the Fortnite roster. We don't know.
Yeah. And it may just come down to let's check placements, let's check Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, and whoever's got good numbers based on those three things. Awesome, cool. They check our boxes. All right, let's sign him, or let's have a phone call for him. Make sure he's not a total dickhead, and then we'll go ahead and sign him and move on. But we are going to move on before we continue babbling about news, because, we've talked about that kind of stuff before. And we're going to talk about ELO and queue times during tournaments.
Wait, don't we have one more news item?
Which one?
Houseparty?
That's going to come at the end. That's like a whole nother topic.
Oh, I thought we're wrapping that into the news topic.
Nah,
all right. Fine. Go ahead. All
right. So, as you guys know, there are some ways that ELO can be gamed in order to benefit certain players. And to me, it shouldn't be a system that can be gamed based on when you start your queues, when you're queuing during, I don't know, let's say the 45 at the end versus the 50. There should be some relative equality towards the level of games, and it shouldn't be based on when you're queuing into a game and if you have 129 points or 127 points. Because an example that comes to my mind is we had Jelty, P-God, and Elige in Trio FNCS, and then you had Coop, Chap, and Fishy. Both of those guys going into the semifinals, and this is mostly a problem for me from the semifinals to the final stage, right? Because it's one lobby and everyone's trying to get into that last lobby. Both those teams were in the like top 15, top 10, and had 129 points. The qualification was going to be 130, so they knew they had to get in a game. Had like a 5-6 minute queue time, don't get into a game, and it's because they were essentially thresholded out. They had too many points to get into a game with everyone below them. And now because they don't get into that game, they get passed up and they missed out on their qualification for week 3 of FNCS. And this isn't the only time this happens. It happens almost every tournament. So I'll start with you, Leven. How do you think the queue times in ELO affects tournaments? And is there really anything that can be done? I'll start with that. How do you think it affects tournaments?
I think we have a general trend in this game and probably in other battle royales where there's so many factors that mean that the majority of the time it's not always the best team who is, in a position on, the leaderboard by the end of it, right? So many factors. Just the nature of a battle royale itself, means that, a lot of the time the results don't necessarily reflect who's maybe the most skilled or who's the most talented, whatever it is. ELO and queue times adds to that even more, the way it currently is in our game. It can be frustrating. Like, what we were casting DreamHack, EU, and who was it again? D5s and Reet. Like, halfway through the tournament, we just find out that they started off late and now they're sitting in like the top 10 just from W Keen from starting off like an hour and a half late or something ridiculous, Like, and it's very frustrating because when you hear stories like the one you just told, where it's like these players who are clearly good enough to be moving on to the next round aren't able to, not even, and it's not even somebody can control. It can be frustrating. I just think like, what can we do about it? Every time I've seen someone try like create some sort of a solution, there's always these like massive negatives or these things that would make it really hard on Epic side, and it's not like the easiest thing to tackle. But it's something that we should continue to like strive to improve because it is affecting like the integrity of the game comparatively negatively.
Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I've stated what my opinion on the matchmaking system is. I've tweeted it. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I just think every game, the players that are in your game, it should just be completely random. Try to randomize the process as much as possible to try to make sure that each game that you play in a specific round of a tournament is as evenly balanced as possible. Obviously, if you're throwing random players in a game, sometimes it'll be a little bit more difficult because you're getting, more top tier players, and other times, you'll get more bots. But if you randomize the process and there's enough players in the player pool trying to get into games, it should basically even out. It doesn't make sense to me that you could have teams that are the top teams playing against each other, and then simultaneously you have another team playing against bots and racking up kills just because the other teams played better more quickly. Like, why are you giving the chance for these other teams that perform poorly to catch up? Doesn't make any sense to me. I just think that points should try to make them as evenly rewarded as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it should be, for me, I don't necessarily mind ELO during opens because I don't want it to be 3 hours of pub stomping. At least towards the end of opens and most tournaments, we start to see some stacked games. In semis, it seems to cause issues because, again, you have that almost catch-up mechanic where if you don't do well off the bat, you get put into bad lobbies and then you get to play worse players. And why are we in a round where people are advancing? We're already taking a smaller pool. It's not open anymore. It's the best people out of the opens, right? So they should all have a relatively fair playing field. And it's kind of ridiculous. I would like to see it tested with it off in semis, and it really doesn't matter. Mostly semis where the gap is going from multiple thousands or hundreds to a single lobby, because that's where I think it affects the most. It really comes down to, can you get in the last game is sometimes how these final lobbies are decided. And I don't think that should be how it is. And so it seems like that's currently what we're dealing with, is you have to learn how to play the queue times and play the ELO in order to, like, that's now part of the game.
Yeah, while we're talking about that, why are queue times a factor? Like, why? By the way, not one of you have a little bit of an echo, so if you just turn that down a little bit. But why do we have a system where you have to play 10 games in a period of time that is too short to be able to play 10 games? Can someone explain that to me? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm serious. Like, nobody ever talks about this aspect of it, but like, if you wanted to play 10 games fully out, you cannot do that in 3 hours. Why is that a thing? I understand there being some sort of time limit because you don't want people like, starting 3 hours late and like playing whenever the hell they want. You have to have some sort of time limit, but like, can you at least make the time limit long enough to be able to play the games out like a normal person?
I'm not too sure why it is the way it is. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think back to like the earlier tournaments, because like I remember things did change. Like they adjusted things a lot way back in the day, tournament to tournament. So I'm trying to remember if it ever was a bit different.
It used to be. You used to have like 4 hours to play 10 games. And I think that generally the feedback was, why the hell are we playing opens for 4 hours? Or why is opens 4 hours and then semis and finals less time? But like, obviously there's ways to go around that. Like, you could shorten the amount of games you play for opens. Obviously that adds to the variability of it, but there's a piece that I don't know. I'm not a doctor here. I can't solve this solution, but I do think it would be interesting to test a tournament, like a major tournament, let's say DreamHack, with the semi round having no ELO.
Yeah.
I personally am just still an advocate for why are we doing everything the way we're doing? Why have we become so fine with the way we're doing everything? Like, it seems very harsh, but like I always think to myself, like, okay, the way like FNCS is now, we've seen a lot of consistency between season to season now. And from the way it seems, Epic are content with the way things are running now competitively in terms of like just formats in general. And like my biggest thing is like, why? Like, is this the final vision for FNCS? Like, what? Like, do they plan on changing things? Because you can avoid a lot of these things if you like revamp certain things, which I don't think is going to happen. So like a lot of these problems they're not, like you said, they're not that easy to change. Like you said, if you extend open time, people are going to be like, why are we playing open for so long? There's so many things that they could potentially do, but then it's like there's like knock-on effects which would just lead the community to complain. And so my mentality is just, why don't we just for a season revamp everything, try something just completely new from the ground up and see how that works? That's not going to happen, but that's what I always think that they should do, because as much as cool things are okay the way they are now, like why should we just be okay with okay? Why can't we try and at least push the boundaries a bit more with how we do things? But hey, it's all like easier said than done, right? So
Yeah. And another piece that would be interesting is implementing a season-long ladder, so that ELO is based on your season-long performance and not within an individual 3-hour window. That way you can climb the ranks, you can get relegated or whatever the hell it's called, or brought back up, and it's based on your season-long performance. Then throw in, they love these single week qualifiers. So throw in, you win X game or X week, then you can also qualify. And then it's the top however many people through a ladder. Not saying that this is a fixed everything, but the game's still new as hell. You can do anything you want and see how it works, because it's not like the rules are set in stone at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you guys remember the Share the Love event? I believe, was it last year's Share the Love, or was it this year's one, where they made it so that like you had like a set amount of games you could play, and then based off of how you did in those set amount of games, over like a course of some time, you got to move on to the next round. Was that this year or last year? Or do you guys remember how that worked?
Yeah.
I believe last year.
I think it was last
Because
year.
it reminded me a lot of the way FIFA run their competitive, like EA Sports, the way they run FIFA, because how they do things is that there's like a weekend league that they do every weekend. They have like a tournament that anyone can play in the world that plays FIFA. But if you get 27 wins in that, like minimum, if you get 27 wins, you get to you basically become a verified account, and that makes you eligible to play in like in other tournaments. So like imagine like if Epic said, hey, let's say you get top 100 within a cash cup within the next couple of months, right? Within the next couple of weeks, then you're eligible to play this round of like a tournament, right? Like, and I think Share the Love was similar to that, but it was obviously condensed down. I think I'm a fan of stuff like that. The problem is that Epic probably wouldn't be, because like it takes away from their open thing, kind of, because it's like it makes it more difficult for just anybody to make it through, which is like the perception they're trying to like make it seem like, oh, anybody can just play and make it through, even though the reality is you can't. Nobody is making it through who isn't like actually good enough to make it through a lot of the time. Like everybody that makes it through to the next stages of most of these competitions are competent Fortnite players. So like maybe like at what point do you like drop this whole anybody you can play and make it through? Like make things a bit more difficult so that we can start to get rid of the issues that are caused with having it so widely open.
Yeah. Well, I think the open philosophy, I mean, I guess you guys could disagree with this, but I don't think it's anybody could win. I think it's more like, I mean, you have to be really good to win, but sometimes we don't always know who is good enough to win. And so if we let everybody participate, then, you know, you could show that you're the best and you could rise to the top. You don't necessarily have to be a known name like Benji or Mongrel or whoever it is. You could be an unknown person, and if you literally have the skills, then you could win. Which I don't. I mean, I like that. I think that's fine. But yeah, there's just obviously going to be trade-offs. Like in an open round where you have anybody could participate, it's going to be a bot race. It's not going to be stacked endgames, and I think it's kind of weird to throw all these different things like ELO in there and like time limits to try to get stacked end games at the end of the open round, even though it's not going to be at the beginning of the open round. I don't know. It seems inevitable you're going to have bot races in an open round. So let's just accept that and then move on. You know, we could have real competitive Fortnite style games in the semi rounds and the final rounds.
Do you know I agree with you there, but my issue is that it's like it's the issue is like imagine like telling this is gonna sound weird for a second, but like you see like how on like an NBA roster, like the worst player, right? You'll be like the worst player on the NBA roster. Like people who are smart realize that even that guy who's like the worst player on the NBA roster, like if he was to go to the local park, he'd destroy absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
But it's like now imagine like telling all of these NBA players to actually play and playing like the NBA playoffs. You first have to go through a round of playing against all of these scrubs at like the local park, and then you can make it through, right? It's like, because then at that point you're playing two different games almost, and like that was always my issue with like Stompy and Shinkin at World Cup, where I always felt like, yeah, these guys stomp like through the rounds of World Cup, but like the World Cup finals isn't gonna be this, and so like, does that can you translate that? Like you're playing two different games. Yeah, you guys are amazing at stomping through these lobbies and getting these 30 bombs or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're doing that to get to a stage where that's not even what you have to do. So I always just find it a bit weird.
All right, so here's my take on that analogy. NBA players do go through that at some point. Like they have to go through AAU ball and then college basketball, and like they're going through, you know, when LeBron James was playing AAU ball, he was, you know, he wasn't playing the way he would be able to in the NBA, because in the NBA he couldn't get away with that type of shit. He was just so physically superior, so much more athletic that he could just run through these people and do things that he wouldn't be able to do on the NBA level, right? So there were like those lower stages that all NBA players have to get through playing against like much more inferior players. It just kind of happens over a longer time span, and because Fortnite doesn't have like lower leagues like a minor league or like college Fortnite, we kind of have to like compress that into like open round, semi round, final round.
Yeah.
Ideally, though, that would be arena. Like the way arena works now is more of like a time suck. The more time invested, the more points you're gonna have. But ideally, like arena could be revamped to be playing at the park. And if you're good enough to play at the park and do well at the park, then you could go play at the next court, right? And that is, I think, how a lot of people want to see it. But, you know, like you guys have mentioned, they want that open policy. And if you kind of gatekeep people based on not even in a tournament, just like the competitive mode of Fortnite, I don't think we're ever going to see that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, they, although yes, like for like LeBron, like AAU would be easy. There is still that change in skill because not any random kids are just playing in AAU. That's like a certain bracket. Like there's a certain kind of difference in skill level. Then when you go and play college ball, that's still a different tier as well because you know you're playing at, let's say, a D1 team, right, instead of like a D2 team or whatever. So like there are still those increments in increased skill level that you have to rise through. Whereas, but then like you at the end you said the issue is that Fortnite try cramp that up into like the 3 rounds where you can't cramp that all down into just the 3 rounds. Whereas the sports, they have so many years and a lot of different institutions that allow them to kind of spread it and like fine tune the skill into different categories a lot better. And yeah, like, and I agree with you there too, like, actually, but the open thing though, I don't get that because, like you said, like the open thing is like the whole idea about it is that you don't have to be in an org, you don't have to be a known person, right? To be able to compete in these things. You can be anybody and compete as long as you're good enough. So why is it still a case of when like you could make things harder, right? And make it so that things are better fine-tuned and it's still open because anybody can make it through. On FIFA, the example I gave earlier, getting 27 wins like on a weekend league, I'll tell you guys that for now, that is very difficult. Like the average player, the majority of people that play that game, probably getting around 12, 13. Getting 27 is ridiculous. But if you're good enough, anybody can do that. And sometimes you have these new, unknown, random people who make it through and qualify into these tournaments. Why can't Epic, like I just genuinely think that they just need to make things more difficult? Because at the moment, like, having it so easy for, like, and on such a, like, open platform means that like every open round is just going to be a bot race. And if you don't accept that it's going to be a bot race and you try and make it so that it's like at the end it turns into end games, like it's half-hearted. Like either you accept that it is a bot race and we're going to just make it so that you guys are competing in a bot race to get to the next round, or you actually try and fine-tune things or make things more difficult in some way rather than just being half-hearted about it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, rather than it be in order to compete in FNCS, you just have to make Champions League or in Arena, make that threshold a little higher. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, but that goes back to what the first thing I said of like, you'd have to revamp things because you'd have to revamp Arena to make Arena
100%.
something that isn't just a time suck, like Taylor said. You'd have to make Arena something that is actually some form of like a showcase of your skill, which it currently is not in any capacity.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Like, Arena is it's basically pubs to be like it's just ranked pubs. Like, it's not anything like FNCS. It's not anything like a stat game at all. I completely agree that needs to be revamped. I don't know how they would be able to do that. It's definitely like the big thing is that they're going against the like public perception of Arena too, because people look at Arena and they just think it's garbage. You play enough to get to Champion League, and then after that, you just screw around if you play it at all. So they're gonna have to make legitimate changes to the structure of Arena, but they're also gonna have to try to change the community's perception of what Arena is, because
the effing community is dumb. Just change the name. Change it from Arena to competitive mode, and people would forget. I'm saying the community is dumb. They didn't like what Playground was is basically in creative, right? Does anybody remember Playground now? Nobody remembers Playground. It's just all a part of creative. Change the name. The community will forget like that. I think they just need to do it. I don't know why they don't just revamp Arena and like we'll talk off stream more, but like I don't know why they just don't do it.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. And before we continue, I think we've all made our points. There's a lot that could be done. If anyone from Epic's here, hey, we're happy to lend an ear and a mouth as to some suggestions. But let's move on to talking about what players can do during the off season. This is kind of the off season. It's hard to call something an off season during Fortnite because at 8 o'clock tonight we have Duo DreamHack, which is a $250,000 tournament, or at least a piece of it. So what can players do to make the best use of the off season? And how do you look at each specific piece of Fortnite or like time chunks and use it most effectively? Jordan?
Yeah. You kind of hit the nail on the head when you said there's not really that much of an off season. Everybody likes to have as many tournaments as possible. They like competing, and that's cool. But there just is no off season because there's constantly something going on, and especially now that Epic's leaning more into third-party tournaments where they don't have to always be the person organizing the tournament. It's even more saturated with tournaments going on. We literally can't find a day most weeks to have this podcast because there's just so many tournaments going on. We don't want to have a podcast starting when people are trying to play the game. So, I think I don't know. I don't even know what to say to answer your question of like, what should you do in the off season, because I just don't know that there even is one.
Fair enough.
I say there's two main points that come out of that. First thing that I'll try to rush through quickly because it could be an endless conversation. They need to be careful because now it's fine. Right now it's fine because we have COVID. Lots of people at home anyway. Lots of lockdowns everywhere around the world. No lands, whatever, cool. And the community is young, and young gamers are a lot less. They're a lot dumber, typically. in the context of they don't care about just constantly playing non-stop. When the scene develops more and we get back to having lands as well, and potentially there'll be lands and whatnot, there's going to be an issue where players start to complain, and then there's going to be this whole players union, whatever. We need to treat the players better. So they need to be careful with that, for one. They can't keep spamming us with tournaments. As much as tournaments are good, the mental effects of it are just draining, burnout and things are going to become a problem soon. That's one. Two, after DreamHack and the Encore Cup for EU, I don't know about what's happening with NA. Like, what tournaments are there really until?
There's the 1% Cup, which is going on now, and then, well, I guess that's during or before DreamHack, and then there's the Nick A30 Cup. But other than that, I don't believe there's anything scheduled. Hold on, I got Fortnite tracker right here.
My advice to any player:
the LTM $1 million Super Cup.
The LTM, like, that's like, to me, anybody, because it's like, isn't it with like the Marvel powers and so you can turn up on any day and just play that. My advice to any top player would honestly to be, don't touch the game until the new season, or not much at least. Like, do a couple creative 1v1s a day, every day, every couple of days. Keep your mechanics somewhat there, but don't really significantly touch the game until the new season. And then when the new season comes, get back on the grind, like figure out the meta, refine your mechanics, because when the new season starts, competitive starts like a month after. So you still, like, you don't need to touch the game right now. When the new season starts, you can start to refine your actual specific mechanics. It's like I don't think you need to worry too much about playing the game right now until the new season comes out, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, for me, I would consider this the off season. In between FNCSs, to me, is the best we're gonna get for an off season. You may want to grind the LTM Cup. Awesome, I don't blame you. But my best advice would just be to step back and, hey, I don't need to play this game 12 hours a day for the next 3 weeks. Like you said, Levin, maybe a couple hours a day. I'd even say take at least a week off. Like, don't touch the game for a week. Read some books. Go outside. It's starting to get cold, so take advantage of it before it gets way too cold to go outside. And just take the time to do other things so that way you can enjoy Fortnite when it comes back. Because if you're not enjoying Fortnite, don't just sit there and clank on your keyboard because you think it's what you're supposed to do, right? You gotta do things you enjoy in life. And the older I get, I'm gonna sound like an old man here, but like the older I get, the more I just stop doing things that aren't enjoyable for me. If it's not fun or it's not worth my time, then, you know, I find the things I like to do and pursue them. You guys are still, most of the scene is still young. Find the things that you enjoy doing. If it's not Fortnite right now, go do something else. Play fucking God. Go play zombies. Like, it doesn't hurt, and it'll help reset your brain as to giving you a better mentality towards coming back. Or, you know, maybe you don't want to come back. That's fine too. You don't have to, you don't get stuck in this game. It's not your life. Don't let a single piece of your life define the entire thing.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And also, beyond just like the having fun thing, I mean, that's extremely important. There's also just like decreasing marginal returns in terms of how much you're practicing and how much you're getting out of it. Grinding the game 12 hours a day is like, at some point, you're not really improving that much with each additional hour that you're playing the game. So you don't need to actually play the game 12 hours a day. I mean, you know, the top players will always be the, you know, the ones that are grinding the most. Just, I mean, some of it's natural talent, whatever, but the time off, like, it's not going to hurt you that much, and it definitely will help you. A lot of times, like, time off from a game or time off from like whatever you're studying or whatever gives your brain time to wrap itself around whatever you're trying to understand, and like understand like the complexities of the game, whatever. And I'm not a fucking neuroscientist or whatever, but look this stuff up. It's not bullshit. Taking time off from stuff does help you understand it better, and helps you perform better.
So you're not a doctor, is what you're trying to say.
And
nice, let's go. All right. Any other thoughts? I think we basically covered it. The only other thing is, like, we got the calendar at the beginning of the season from Epic, and we know that there's an FNCS every month, but to help these kids, because it's mostly kids, give them some further insights as to what's going on. You know, if the season's going to end at the end of November or beginning of December, awesome. Say next FNCS is going to be here. And honestly, they probably want a little bit of ambiguity. So something goes wrong or they need to fix something. They haven't announced FNCS yet, so no one's going to get disappointed when that doesn't come, because if you guys look at comments on Fortnite status or competitive Fortnite, anytime they tweet something, it's, there's no words for, we don't need that. Any final thoughts on this before we move on?
Quickly, just on that, when did squads end, FNCS, when did squads end last time? Because I'm really intrigued as to how they're going to do things, because at this point, I think it's a given that we'll get a Winter Royale. You know, we've had it the past 2 years. And so when are they going to fit that in if they plan on doing FNCS, like with new season coming in a couple of weeks, which will be what, like in December, then there's usually a month before FNCS starts, but that month will be usually when Winter Royale would have happened. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how is...
Squads ended December 8th.
So squads ended December 8th, and then we had Winter Royale at when?
That was the 20th to the 22nd. So there's 3 weeks, and, you know, based on Fortnite's jamming of FNCS into 3 weeks, it's possible that they do another one.
I don't know. I just want to. I'm sure they might not even know. In terms of like the competitive team, they probably don't even know themselves at this point, right? I wouldn't be surprised, because there's just so many moving parts and working pieces that go into it. But like, I'm sure we'll have a Winter Royale. So like, figuring out when that's going to be squeezed in with FNCS for next season will be interesting to see. So.
Well, and we also have to take into account they typically take a 2-week break around Christmas. So the week before and the week after Christmas, Epic's probably going to be out of office. So I wouldn't expect anything to happen during those 2 weeks. So that kind of cuts down our time, and maybe they'll do like a January Winter Royale as opposed to doing it in December, because they're not set.
Maybe in the new season, they're going to completely transform and update the way we can run our own tournaments so that they can have their long break and we can just run our own tournaments. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine they updated custom options and they changed the replay system and we could just run our own tournaments so that they can just slack off and sit back.
Talking crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy talk. It is crazy talk. But, yeah.
All right. Speaking of additional things that Fortnite is adding to their game, this is a little less competitive, but if you didn't know, Epic Games decided to purchase a company called Houseparty. Houseparty is similar in a sense to like Zoom or Google Meets. It allows you to have groups, chats, face video interaction, and different things like that. And since they've started to do this, they've announced that there will be an integration within Fortnite. So much like you see our faces on the screen, you would be able, like, say we're all three of us are playing together, we would be able to see each other's faces while playing the game. And that to me is, from a video game perspective, awesome, right? Like, you don't really need that, but name me another game that you could look at your friends in game, use communication. And the immediate thought that comes to my mind is someone like Ewok, right? She can now use hand gestures and communication other than simply noise and communicate with her teammates. So it's also an accessibility thing. From how I see it, love to get your guys' thoughts. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Levin.
Okay, so the first thing I think is it's most likely just like not gonna be anything like significant. Like, it's one of those things like, you know, only the party royale people, the people that like come on Fortnite to use party royale, are gonna be the ones who love this one. It would be cool. This is like a shot in the dark, and it's not gonna happen. But it would be cool if like they use it like, let's say like in FNCS, so like on the broadcast they could like show us like the players. So like, wow, like if they switch the player, we could actually maybe see that player. But
sitting there cranking like
yeah, but like it would be cool, but we're probably not gonna see that. Like, I always love when I watch like the remote like Counter-Strike tournaments, and like mid-round, like after rounds, they'll like show you like the player reaction to like the frag he just got or whatever, and I always find that really cool. But yeah, it's unlikely that that's how it's gonna be used, but I guess a cool feature for the party royale people and all them kind of people.
Yeah, I think Rocket League has. Rocket League's different because you could kind of get the entire, like a shot of the entire field at the same time. You don't have to switch from car to car necessarily, or player to player. But Rocket League has, you know, the main game in the middle of the screen, and then they have one team's players' face cams on the top, and then the other team's face cams on the bottom, just like little thumbnail type things. And I don't know, I always thought that was cool. I think it would be cool in the broadcast if you're switching from one squad to the next, one trio to the next, you have their faces just on the side, see what's going on with them. It would, I don't know, maybe it would help some people understand what's going on a little bit more, understand like the team coordination. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that's a really cool piece, that last part of the team coordination. So if we had the face cams being able to get the comms during a tournament, because if you watch a replay right now, you're just left sitting there guessing what they're talking about, but not necessarily all the time being able to go back and look at a play, kind of like Levin said, and break it down based on through their ears and mouths of what was going on. That would be an awesome addition, you know, like a highlight. They do it in the NFL, right? They mic up a player and then put something out afterwards of some funny stuff they said, or even when they make a great play, like their reactions to it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely having, we talk about all the time, like the emotional element of Fortnite. Part of the reason why that's kind of absent is because you can't see what the players are doing, like physically. Like, are they, going crazy or whatever after a big win or whatever. We don't know. We just see the player taking the L or something like that, like, or cranking 90s or something. So I mean, that would be definitely a cool addition from like a marketing perspective and getting people excited to watch.
Yeah, that's why I was always like when I used to always imagine before like I started doing what I did now, I was considering like helping with like tournaments that were running EU back when we could actually have tournaments without them being griefed horrendously. And like I always would imagine like myself like making sure that all the players are in their calls within the Discord so that we could do like listen ins and like get some like cool moments out of that. I think that would be really cool. I used to I used to message some players, right, and be like, oh, yo, can I listen into like your scrims? Like, can I just like chill in the call? And like, I remember, I can't even remember who it was now, but I remember just one player, like one team, and like, I didn't think this through, but they were like Swedish. So like, I'm just in the call with these guys like spitting like mad Swedish, and like, I just didn't know what was going on. So like, yeah, it didn't work out. But hearing comms is like really helpful because we'll be on the broadcast, for example, we'll be like, oh, I'm sure he's telling him. I'm sure he's saying, let's rotate. We don't know what he's saying. So like, it'd be nice if we could like get extra information that way, and it'd help us to like really understand more about players and be able to add just a different level of depth to the competitive scene. Because let's say we knew like a certain player, like there's certain players who we genuinely don't know anything about other than their actual play. But let's say we knew that like Thomas was like this really passionate IGL that was really passionate and really got into his teammates and stuck it on them when they made mistakes. And we could contrast that with Nas, who might be this really, passive, more quiet, more a leader in the sense of he shows the way he needs to play rather than saying the way he needs to play, that kind of thing. Like it would just make things a lot better, but maybe one day.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that there'll be streaming like the live comms anytime soon, just because
no chance.
They should not do that.
No chance.
Yeah, it's apparently difficult enough to just get players to interview with some amount of maturity. So I don't know about live comms.
Yeah, it's not happening. Live comments on Mongrel. Shit on! Oh my fucking god! Shit on! Like it's not.
That would be sick though. That would be kind of sick if they just leaned into the fact that the community is a bunch of 15-year-olds. That would be pretty sick.
if only.
Yeah, no. No. There's so many ways that could go bad. All right, cool. Well, that's all we got for the topics today. Now is time where we ask you guys for some questions. We did get some on our Twitter, so make sure to follow us on Twitter. We do tweet out the episodes after the fact on YouTube. You can check us out there as well. But if you got questions, throw them in chat. And we're going to start off with one from Zefty. He asked, should Epic Games bring back random gold POI every game in tournament? So his example is, a few seasons ago, there was like a 1 in 3 chance that a POI would have a gold name in the drones. I'm personally not a fan of a team having a POI uncon for a tournament. Therefore, this would bring back the chance of random gold POIs and negate that.
How would it negate it?
You wouldn't. So what he says is not being comfortable at a drop spot, especially late in a major tournament. I mean, I guess it would negate it based on the fact that if you have a gold place, people may be more likely to land there versus if you don't. I don't necessarily see that changing finals of a tournament, maybe changes semis and opens.
It wouldn't even it wouldn't change anything because people land in opens and semis, people land at start. Loads of people land at start. Like Taylor, we were casting over it where there were like loads of people towards Stark certain games. Like it was literally just crazy towards Stark. Ultimately, the better teams will just win it because they are just better. They have so much experience landing there. And in finals, in finals, it's only going to buff the people landing there because nobody wants to land with Mongrel and Mitra at Stark. People don't want to land there. And now, on top of that, they have like all the extra loot because of like the gold POI thing. I don't think it'd work in the way Zefty probably think it would. But I do like the idea of trying to like kind of nerf, these god teams landing at the god drops uncontested, because it is a bit boring.
Yeah, I that's why I kind of liked the Stark jets, like the little jets that go different places on the POIs. If they buffed those and just had them kind of float around just outside of POIs, that might be cool because you're not contesting somebody directly at the POI. You could still sustain yourself off of just landing at the jet outside of POI, but then that increases the possibility of like a mid game engagement between the person who just landed outside at the start jet and the person that's in the POI. So it's like the POI can't get too comfortable. They have to make sure that they're defending if somebody decides to come in. But I agree. I'm not sure if you just did the gold POI thing that people would decide to contest the team that was already established there.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. And why would you go to a different drop when a team probably has a better drop and understanding of that POI than you do? So I don't think that would change anything. One thing this did remind me of is the block. So how would you guys feel about a weekly rotating POI on the map that sometimes is OP and sometimes is not?
It would. So basically, like if we got the block back.
Yeah, I was a fan of the block.
The block was interesting because, like you said, there would be times when the block was broken, but people didn't know. So like, I'll never forget. Yeah, there was a time when like I must have just went back into the replay and I just saw like this is literally when I used to play, so it was a long time ago. And I went back in the replay and I see like Secret Mongrel and Secret Dementos like landing at the block near me because I landed towards Lazy Links. I think I was trying to contest Phoenix at the time, which was pretty easy because Phoenix was terrible back then, still is terrible now. And yeah, Mongrel and that were like towards the block or whatever, and I'm like, why are they there? Like, why are they at the block? Because I just thought the block was a bit of a shambles place. I was not really consistent. I see their loot, I see their mats. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why they're there. This place is broken. So, it'd be cool, but I don't know how like Epic would like regulate it, because we can't just have a place that gives everybody max mats from like one. Because now like the battle for materials across the map is so like you have to pick and choose a lot of the time. Like we're gonna land here so we can get a lot of metal, then we will try rotate there, get some brick, and like but then if you just have one place where like you can get everything maxed out so easily, like it'd be a bit of an imbalance to the map, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old block was broken. The loot used to be kind of insane. I remember that.
So much ammo too.
Yeah, the ammo was insane.
Yeah.
But
all right,
to answer your question, I kind of like I like the idea of just like a rotating POI. It doesn't need to be broken. It doesn't need to be exactly like the block used to be.
True. Good point. All right, we have another question. So this is from Sanye. I'd like to see an open without pro players, so it gives up and coming players a chance. What do you guys think? So I let me preface this. I will define pro players. Anyone, let's call it anyone that has reached a heat in the last 3 FNCSs. So not necessarily a pro player in my definition, but at least a chunk of players that have succeeded in the past few seasons, giving other players a chance.
Well, they kind of did this for the FNCS Invitational, where they had the people were just auto qualified for the second week or whatever, and then they had the open round the first week.
Yeah, I'm not against this because I always had like in my ideal model for competitive in this game, you would section off like the kind of pros anyway at a certain point in the season, and so like I always would incorporate like there's still competition there for anyone to play that's not the pros, and a lot of the time you get to witness like great talent because in the FNCS Invitational, right, in the round where the people who already auto qualified weren't playing, it was still quite entertaining to watch. Like there were some great players that still got to compete because you will get the players who just barely miss it. So yeah, I'd be cool with that as long as it was meaningful. If it was just like nobody's made it to a heat, can play this tournament on every Thursday, it'd be a bit like, well, why are you doing that, mate? But if it was like for a specific purpose, then cool. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, like 2 weeks, it's like a highlight cup, you know, or a new player spotlight, something like that, where someone gets a chance to shine. I think that'd be pretty cool. Got another question, not really question from Max C. Talk about FNCS results in EU and NA. You can check out last week's podcast to get all that information. So check us out on YouTube if you want to have us talk about FNCS. Actually, we didn't do that last week, so I do apologize.
Wait, what didn't we do?
Taylor.
Did I talk about FNCS last week, or did we?
Taylor.
Because we had Crim's dad on. It was more about Cope and how you can help educate your parents.
That's actually nice.
Wait, no. Really we talked about FNCS 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but it was pre-finals.
No, it wasn't.
That was.
Look at this. Look at this. Is it? What's going on? The communication between the two of you. It's a shambles.
I could vouch for the fact that we talked about FNCS after finals.
Oh, we did. Yeah. It seems like it was like only a couple weeks ago.
It was Taylor who was wrong.
I knew we talked about it. I just couldn't remember when. All right.
Embarrassing stuff from Taylor there. Embarrassing.
Hey, we're not all perfect at all times.
Jordan is.
Yeah. That's why he's my partner. Because he balances out my imperfections.
Exactly.
All right. Last one. Okay, there's a couple. Very long questions there from Zefty on the back of that. And then, do we want to talk about how bad macros are? I feel like that's been covered.
I don't know. What is it to say about macros? I don't know what there is to say about it.
How bad of a problem are macros in the game? So I'm assuming like how many people are using them and whatnot, but I don't think it's as big as we think the problem is.
Even if it is, it's like what, I don't know. I just don't. There's not much conversation I feel like can be had around that. It's like it's one of those like endless loop conversations where like it ultimately results in nothing because there's nothing we can do because we don't actually know.
Yeah, macros are bad. Okay. Cool. Well,
stop using the macros. If you're using macros, stop it. Stop it. It's not good. It's against the rules.
Unless you want to give me all your earnings, then still stop using macros.
You could get them to me instead. I am a struggling uni student in dire need of finances.
True. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap today up, fellas?
Teko had a good point in chat. Teko said, using macros, caught equals punishment. No punishment. No. Otherwise, no punishment. Like that's just it. You use a macros, if you get caught, you're gonna get punished. If not, you don't get punished. Like that's just what it is.
It's very true. Same way with breaking the law.
Exactly.
Unless you have lots of money, then it doesn't count. But that's a whole nother topic. All right. Well, Jordan, take us away. Close us out here.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Oh wait, Max C. We talked about it with. Wait, who did we have 2 weeks ago?
Oh boy, you're testing my memory.
Do you have fake Leven on?
Oh yeah, we did have reset, but that was not who we talked about it with. Dude, FNCS was a long time ago.
Oh, it was Connor. Because there's Connor Rio.
Yeah. You sound like a old school DJ there, Man was like, oh yeah. Sorry, I'm losing it right now. I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
Yeah, so it was the episode with Connor Rio. He had just won the wild card match, so we got his insights from that. So check that one out. It's a good one. Check them all out. They're all good.
They're all good. All of them. Watch every single episode.
Yeah. Right now.
Yeah, especially this one that's coming out. tomorrow, even though you just watched it. Watch it again. Yeah, so thank you for tuning in. Levin at Leven2k on Twitter. Leven2k on everything. YouTube, Twitch, everything.
Wait, on Twitch and Twitter?
Pardon?
Pardon?
Is it on Twitch and Twitter, 11-2K?
Everything, Leven2k.
Oh,
Yeah,
everything.
everything.
Okay.
Yeah, everything.
Taylor at
TikTok.
somebody's going. Oh, Leven2k TikTok as well.
I've
Taylor,
never made a TikTok.
Taylor, do you have TikTok?
Oh, fuck no.
Oh my god. The Boomer Talk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Not TikTokers.
Bro, that's why
Clearly.
we don't get viewers, because you don't fucking advertise on TikTok.
Literally, bro.
That's right. And if you want to watch this on TikTok, go ahead, type in Boomer Talk, search us up. We are not on there. You will not find us.
What else? What other plugs? YouTube. Yeah. Subscribe to the YouTube, actually, because if you miss an episode, then you get to watch it afterwards on YouTube. The YouTube is right there, down there, right next to Taylor. Also, follow the stream right now. If you're listening to this, you're watching this right now, just follow the stream. Then you'll just get an alert every time we have a podcast. It's usually once a week, usually on Thursdays. If there's a tournament on Thursdays, then we hold it sometimes on Wednesdays. I don't know, sometimes another day. But other than that, am I missing anything?
No, I love you guys. Thank you for watching.
You look handsome today, Jordan, you know. You're looking
Do I?
handsome. Yeah, you're looking good, man.
Thank you.
The skin's looking nice. Everything looking great.
You're looking good yourself, Levin.
Oh, thank you.
All right. See you guys.